fellow readers. Today I'm going to be talking about I was reincarnated as the Villainess in an Otome game, but the boys love me anyway. So in this series, let me quickly read the back. This is available from Tokyo Pop. Mistia Aaron, or Aaron, Mistia Aaron, maybe we'll go with that. Mistia Aaron is the daughter of a noble family, and she just started high school. She's surrounded by a group of adoring classmates and her charming fiancé. Everything seems perfect, except that this world is actually a dating sim called Kyun Love, and Mistia knows she's been reincarnated into the role of the main character's evil rival. Mistia is determined to do everything she can to avoid her fate, but it's not as easy as it sounds, especially when all the boys keep falling in love with her. So, yeah, this is a romance, fantasy romance, obviously one of the nice reincarnated villainous stories, which for some reason I've been enjoying, so I decided to pick up the first 2 volumes of this series. What's interesting is I can't remember when I picked them out if I knew they were going to be, there's another one I'll talk about later, if I knew they were going to be manga or if I thought they were light novels. Because I feel like I had just finished reading, what was the Villainous reincarnation story? The Duke's Daughter. I think it was The Accomplishments of the Duke's Daughter. I'd finished reading that one, and I like, I don't know, for some reason I like the reincarnated as a villainous story, but then of course you're not staying the villainess, you're changing your life and your world to start over again. For some reason, I kind of dig that, and I don't know why. So I picked up two other works that have that similar kind of theme. And this was one of them. And I've read the first 2 volumes, and I don't know. So this one's not my favorite. I don't hate it, but it's not necessarily my favorite. Now, to its positive, I like some of the characters and their plot lines and their relationships with Mistia. One, I don't really get how she could have been a villainess. Like, I don't get how she was the villainess in the role. Just looking at her relationships with these other characters. But 2, I don't know how much has been changed since our main character person was reincarnated as her. Like, how much of that initial story for the game world would have changed when our character was born into Mistia. Does that make sense? So sometimes these are hard for me because I'm like, reading this as it's presented and our character being back in time. This is prior to her going into the high school. She's a young child. She's meeting all of these different boys at various parts in her childhood, including someone who becomes her fiancé, like they're betrothed in childhood. And yes, I know that she changed some events, including then, because she knew about it and she decides to change it. But then, why did she do it? That's like, I don't understand in this series, is some of the motives, because then she'll talk about how they need to meet the main heroine when she does get to high school. But why do they need to meet the heroine? What does it matter if she's... Like, why would she change these pasts? Which, yes, I get they were sad. And there are some that you don't even know about that get pulled into it. I don't know. I guess with this one I had a lot more questions. So, like, she does stuff to impact the boy who is her fiancé's life. She actually ends up saving, like, part of his family, and his family in general, really, because there was going to be a big break and everything, and it was messy in the game world. But in this world, she changes all that. But then she still expects him to become devoted to the heroine of the game. And why? And how? Like, you just impacted his whole past. Why would he need the heroine in his life in the future. I guess like I get problems like that, and she just seems to be oblivious. Like, oh no, why does he like me? I mean, how can he possibly like this girl that he's been betrothed to, and we've had dinner together? Like, I've made him dinner all the time, and we hang out all the time, and I saved his family. Why would he like me and not want to meet this nameless girl? It boggles my mind. Thus far, I do like her fiance. I think that he had a really great backstory in this, and I like their relationship. And then I like the character who becomes the teacher. I think they had a really good backstory too. Like, that sounds creepy, but there's not like a huge age difference or anything, and she helps like save his life. And I don't want to get into it because spoilers, and I think if you're at all intrigued by this, you should just pick it up. I like those two characters, I think, the most. Like, the other characters are good. I don't have any problems with them. I just like those relationships that have been built thus far the most. I probably like the fiance the most at this point, and I think they've had a relationship that makes the most sense thus far. Like, their interactions and everything makes the most sense, and they're engaged already, so it's like like, she'd have to crush him and break his heart in order for them to like not work out, and that just makes me really sad, and I don't want her to do that, so I can't support anything that does that. I mean, if he moves on, if he turns out that he doesn't really like her, that's different. So the things I didn't really like about this mostly just have to do with the layout of the pages. I think that a lot of this story gets very cramped, and there's a lot of like panels and exposition. And I like things that have more white space and more ability to read. Like, there's just a lot written. And listen, I'm a heavy reader, but sometimes when the pages are laid out like this and there's so much text, but it's like all like ning, 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 ning. It just, like, they should have just released the light novel, and I would have been just as happy. And yes, I am fairly like 100% certain this is from a light novel, but instead we released the manga here. And if it was going to be this wordy, like, I might just as well as read the light novel. But, you know, that being said, again, I liked the artwork. I liked a lot of the story development, character development. I think, how can you not be well fleshed out when you have that much words per page? It was a lot. It was a lot to deal with. I like the first one too, kind of establishes a nice color character profile. Raid is the fiance. He's also the main cover character here. And that's obviously Mistia. I can't remember if we've even seen the heroine. I think in volume 2 we've like just gotten back. Like, the story starts with her like going off to high school, and then all the boys surrounding her, even though she's kind of like, no, why are you surrounding me? Shouldn't you love the heroine that you've never met? But then flashes back to like her childhood, and I think at that point recognizing that she's been reborn in a game she used to play when she was human. Alive in our world, how about that? I think she's still human. So yeah, then it flashes back, and you get that whole backstory, most of which is Raid, but then you also meet some of the other characters. And I think where volume 2 ends, they've just flashed forward back to like that first day of high school, so that the story can progress moving forward. And again, it's just weird to me because you'll have like her saying things like, no, if Raid goes in the carriage with me to school, he won't run into the heroine at such and such. And I'm like, he doesn't care about this unknown person. You've literally changed his past. What's to say that that would even happen? Because you've changed the whole course of history already. Like, if you wanted events to play out exactly as they would have in the game, then you should have just ignored what was happening in his life. But you've already changed it, so who cares? Like, just live whatever life you want to lead. Anyway, it's just, I don't know. Like, that whole plot point is weird to me. And when I talk about the other one that I want to, I'll explain why I think that works a little bit better. And even with Accomplishments of the Duke's Daughter, she did want to live a different life. She didn't care about any game she was playing. She literally just, like, cut ties with her past and moved on. She was like, see ya. She was like, fine, do you want to end up with the girl, as would have happened in the game? Go ahead. I was going to die. No, I'm not going to. I'm going to leave you. And I like that, because that makes more sense. But in this one, she's literally staying involved and changing the course of the game as laid out. So why not just go with it? Stop trying to make the game happen. Just accept your new role that you've created. Who cares? You're now in the game. Just play it. Be it. That's what I do. Live your own existence. Anyway, that is my thoughts on this book with a really long title. I was reincarnated as the villainess in an Otome game, but the boys love me anyway. That is it for this video. Until next time. Bye.